Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. You are tuned into Bigmikes blog. I am your humble host, Big Mike. I am not at my humble home, however. I am actually at my friend, Sana Khan. I told you guys that we were going to be doing our podcast slash vlog together. I'm a man of my words. You guys can't call me a liar. So we are finally doing a vlog together.
Yep.
Hopefully one of many. I'll be also promoting this vlog. She's also recording this on her podcast, and I'll be also attaching this to this vlog as well, so you guys can check out both. Because sometimes it can't be on YouTube when you're walking around, so you can listen to when you're at the gym or running, whatever the case. We can listen to this debate. So today's topic is a topic that I've been very excited. We have had the conversations about this for years.
Yes, we have.
And now we're going to actually be doing this. We are going to be doing a debate on Captain America: Civil War, the Marvel movie. So hopefully you guys have watched the movies, so you guys can know what we're talking about. But if you're not, it's fine. But I will say that it's probably the best Marvel movie out of all of them. It's my favorite personally.
It's one of my favorites too.
Hands down. So what we have decided to do is we are going to do a debate mainly on the two main characters, Iron Man, Captain America, and we are going to debate our points and our rationales on who we support and why. So this is going to be fun. We have not planned this. I have no idea what Sana's going to say. She has no idea what I'm going to say. We're just, Wakanda forever. Obviously, she's wearing Black Panthers.
Nice shirt. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So I figured, I actually had an Iron Man shirt, and it doesn't fit me anymore, so I had to get rid of it.
Oh no! Well, you could have cut it out and just patched it there, right?
No, it would have looked terrible.
No.
But I should, I'm going to get a new Iron Man shirt. So anyway, but seeing that Sana is my guest on mine, and I'm going to be a guest on her. But I figured seeing that, this is going to be her first foray into vlogs as well. So this is kind of her test run. So she's going to be doing vlogs as well too. So check out her channel. And if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. And also I'm going to send a link. I'm going to have a link for her website as well as her podcast that she does on Apple Music and Spotify. Yes. It says they're great content. It's amazing stuff. So guys, check it out if you haven't already. So Sana, you can start with your point and your stance.
So actually, I think let's backtrack.
Let's backtrack.
So let's start with what Civil War is about in terms of let's set the field, right?
Okay,
set the stage.
Yes. So this movie came out in 2016. Okay. Great. It's basically kind of like the halfway point of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I believe was in Phase 3, and now we're going to Phase 4. So this was kind of the halfway point of the movie. So basically, the premise behind the movie is basically the Avengers, which includes Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Vision, War Machine, Ant-Man, a lot of characters in this damn movie. Basically, there is a divide between them due to an incident that occurred with Captain America, I believe it was Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow, where they were trying to intercept, I think it was a virus of some sort, in Lagos, Nigeria. And basically, in the midst of them intercepting this, intercept this virus, people were killed in a building, including some people from Wakanda, which is where this guy is from, Black Panther. So, in the midst of that, the governments had decided to create these accords, or I guess these, I'm not...
It's like an agreement.
An agreement in terms
they're called
of...
the Sokovian Accords.
Sokovian Accords, which basically kind of, and essentially in a nutshell, kind of keeps the heroes accountable. Meaning that they can't just, because usually they're going, when an issue happens, they're just going off to go fight whatever war, whatever battle. There's no real rules or parameters surrounding that. They don't have to check in with anybody. So these accords are kind of keeping them honest and keeping them accountable. So there's a divide within the group because Captain America does not believe in the accords, doesn't want to feel like he's kind of I guess the word is a lapdog for the government, I guess. Whereas Iron Man, who's kind of the second leader, second in command more or less, feels like the accords are an important thing because it kind of keeps them accountable. So that's kind of the premise. And in the midst of that, there's a big fight. They're fighting within each other, infighting amongst each other.
Yes.
And a villain by the name of Zemo, who actually is my favorite Marvel villain besides Thanos. Love Zemo, so I'll kind of explain a little bit why.
Okay.
But he kind of is the one that kind of sets the table to kind of fracture the Avengers.
Very clever.
Very clever.
Super
That's one of the
clever.
reasons why I love Zemo. So
really clever.
Yeah, so I will let Sana start. So that's kind of the table. We set it out. And I know we were supposed to, the movie came out 4 years ago, I know. But I figured, seeing that we're going to be venturing into the new Marvel, the Phase 4, because I guess Black Widow's coming out in November, So I figured why not talk about Phase 3, which is probably some of the best damn movies in terms of superhero movies. It's gonna be like round of applause for these movies, man. These movies were dope. Round of applause.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I figured why not do one on Captain America? And why not? And me and you have debated this. We've had conversations outside of this lovely channel. So why not? I figured why not just do one? Do a debate.
So this is me really being new to this. Where's the camera here? Where am I looking at?
You're looking at sorry, here.
There?
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay.
So kind of, it's
That's
okay.
cool.
We're winging it. I'd look wherever anyway, so it doesn't matter. Sorry, go on.
So the movie is essentially there's many themes happening here. As you mentioned, it's about these superheroes that are now being held accountable for their individual actions. So in movies, we always see superheroes saving the day, fighting, and there's all this death and destruction. But I'm always questioning, well, wait, didn't someone die? Like, this building just fell down.
And they just get to go home and just chill.
Yeah, no one talks about it.
Nah.
There's no talk about it. It's just like, yay, someone's to save the day. I guess unless you're watching the series The Boys. Have you seen The Boys?
I have not. I've heard it's really good, though.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Okay,
so it kind of goes, touches on the exact thing that we're talking about, by the way.
Oh.
So
okay.
if you're into this, you
I am
will
into
love The Boys.
Well,
And it's also filmed in Toronto.
Well, shout out to the 6.
So I think the movie is excellent because it touches on the theme of individual responsibility, and as you know, if you're a superhuman, right, you're saving the world, you're still causing a lot of damage, and you're still causing a lot of destruction. So should you be held accountable for those actions, or should you say, well, it's for the greater good, I tried my best,
I'm a hero.
I'm a hero, right? So I don't think anyone should be invincible, right? In terms of not being responsible for what they've done. So this movie is very, very interesting because it puts them accountable, puts the Avengers accountable, and it gives like specific scenarios. So you have different stories. A mother like comes crying to Iron Man saying, you know what, this is the life, and she there's context behind the life,
which I loved. Actually, I think that was probably like my favorite scene in the whole movie, because I think, to your point, it gave a human context. It actually gave a human being. It's not just these faceless people running around away from destruction. It's an actual person who had a life and had things they were trying to do, and in the midst of you trying to kick ass and save the day, this person, my son, lost their life. Right? So I thought that was an amazing scene. Alfred Woodard, shout out to her. She did an amazing job in that scene.
And so now, to your point, right, you have, it's not just, I related so well to this. You said a faceless person running around from destruction. It was because that's what we see.
Exactly.
Now that you're defining these as actual characters in the universe, like we start to think, oh wait, there's other people out there that pay for the consequences of these superheroes.
Yeah.
From the consequences. So there obviously the Sokovian Accords are come about, and the movie obviously it's an action movie, so it doesn't really talk about it to what exactly is in the Sokovian Accords.
What do they entail?
It's just this big book that's slapped on the table, and you're looking at it going, who's gonna read this? Am I expected to read this?
Ain't nobody reading that.
So I think it would have been it could have been a courtroom drama, but I don't think that's gonna appeal a lot of Marvel fans.
No, I would have fell asleep in the theater. Probably.
So what needed to be done to really clear it is first and foremost understand the Sokovian Accords.
What did they entail?
Yeah, which we don't get. We don't know. All we know is that the big debate, the big picture debate, which is we're going to be now monitored, where basically the UN, a bunch of countries have agreed to establish certain guidelines and rules, and you're going to have to follow by those guidelines and rules, and if you don't follow them, you're a criminal.
Basically. Then you retire, essentially. Then you stop doing it,
Yeah, so without going into details of what these accords are, the movie immediately just dives into the whole debate of, wait, hold on. Now, I'm going to be controlled? Like, I'm going to have to listen to someone, and I can't just go and do my own thing, which is basically what defines a superhero, right? Isn't that what makes them a superhero?
That is a fair point. That is a fair point. I mean, they are not hellbound or bound to something. If they see some drama, they have to go and stop it. That's that way they're wired, right? So now this Accords is basically saying, hold on.
Yeah.
unless we say that y'all can go, y'all asses need to stay home. Like, that's kind of what it's essentially saying, you know, and I think that's what Captain America was trying to reiterate in his piece with that. So, yeah, no, you're right. Definitely. Which is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, if we did live in a world where superheroes were natural, right?
Yes.
Where you had these, it's what Iron Man actually puts it really well. He goes, I think he's talking about Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I keep thinking Scarlett Johansson.
Well,
so I get confused.
Close enough.
She's Black Widow. She plays Black Widow. Anyway, right. So he basically says she's a nuclear weapon, right? Like, and
essentially.
She wasn't allowed at this place where she was, so she should be held accountable because with weapons you have to go through these.
She's not. Yeah, she's not even an American citizen.
Yeah. So she needs to take responsibility and accountability that if I'm basically a weapon and I'm entering the territory, I need to be held accountable. So it kind of puts a different spin on the characters now. So not only are they just characters, but they're weapons.
Yeah. Right? You know, and I think for me, like, so when we first watched the movie, I remember me and you debated this, and I think I was on the side of Captain America at first.
Yeah.
I was like, Iron Man's being a tool, and blah, 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 and he's all trying to be whereas Captain America is like, no, we're not going to be like some government shield for the man, and all this type of stuff. I think watching it again, I appreciated where Iron Man was coming from, especially with the Scarlet Witch situation, because I was thinking about it from the perspective of, let's say, for example, remember she was in the scene where Vision was cooking her, I guess, peppercash?
Peppercash. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either.
I was supposed to Google that. I
should
forgot.
have Googled it too. Yeah. Anyway, and then she wanted to go to the store, and he wouldn't let her.
Yeah.
And, you know, she felt like, it was essentially like she was almost like a prisoner. But what I was thinking to myself is, what if, let's say, she went out, knowing that she had kind of caused these deaths in Lagos, Nigeria, right? And let's say she went to the store, and let's say someone saw her and was like, oh, that woman killed all those people, and they want to go rush her and attack her, or whatever the case may be, right? And then, let's say she, obviously at that point, she has to defend herself. And let's say she makes a bad situation or a volatile situation worse. And I think that's what Iron Man was trying to avoid. Was say, let's keep her isolated for now.
Yeah. Until
we can kind of somewhat keep this thing in order. And then once things are kind of settled, then we can kind of have her out, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that situation. It's basically about...
Well, Captain America had a big problem with it. He was
saying that you're holding her prison against her own will. Prisoner.
Yes.
Holding her prisoner against her own will. And, I mean, I think... I'm actually going to debate from Captain America's perspective.
Okay, that's fine.
I think he does have a point in that these are living, breathing beings.
Yes.
Right? They're not just weapons, they're human beings.
Right.
Who are capable of making mistakes, but who also, at the end of the day, save a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you save a lot of lives, and it happens in war too, when soldiers sacrifice their lives. You know, you're fighting for a bigger cause.
Yeah.
It's like the greater good, right? You're gonna have to have some casualties to defeat any kind of war.
Right. I agree with that.
I think it's kind of unreasonable to assume that you're gonna have no casualties and then blame the superheroes, because then you're saying everything has to be like this utopian society where everyone saves the day, no one gets hurt. It's absolutely absurd to expect that no one gets hurt. I'm not diminishing a life. I'm not diminishing any life, like superhero or otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you can't expect for any conflict to not have casualties.
Right.
Right? And Vision has this line which was like really good. He said like power invites challenge.
Yes.
And with challenge incites conflict, and obviously conflict breeds catastrophe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what he said.
Right.
And in keeping with that theme, obviously you're going to have anywhere where you have superheroes, you're going to have catastrophe and conflict.
Absolutely.
So I want to just place that in and say that's the facts. You're not going to have this happy-go-lucky scenario where you don't have a single death. However, you can't minimize that death, but at the same time, you can't pretend that everything could have been prevented.
Okay, that's a fair point. I will respectfully disagree on one point, because I felt like in the midst of, and to your points are valid. I don't disagree with anything you said. I just feel like with Captain America, he was very flippant about that aspect of the human life aspect, from the standpoint of, well, what did he say? Sorry. No, so basically he was just trying to, like, I remember when he was talking with Scarlet Witch and he was saying, well, you know, yeah, some people are going to lose their lives, but that can't stop us from saving the greater good. And I think he was trying to reiterate that piece. But to what T'Chaka said when, T'Challa's father, when they were doing the press conference, victory at the expense of the innocent is no victory at all. So I guess to my point, or what I'm trying to say is, yes, and to your point, it's very hard and unrealistic to think that, you know, something is going to happen where, like, these superpower people are fighting each other and no one's going to die. But I think that with the problem that I had with Captain America, I felt like he just kind of was like, oh, people die, okay, move on. And I didn't feel like he kind of was mindful of the fact that these are actual people. He just saw them as just faces people he had to save. And I didn't feel he looked at it from that angle. Maybe it's just me. That's just where I viewed it.
Interesting. Okay. And I like the quote that you give, that, you know, T'Chaka, right?
T'Chaka.
That he gives.
Yes.
Again, going back to the point, like, every battle worth fighting for is going to have casualties. Every big battle.
Of course.
In war, in obviously in the superhero world, you're talking about people wiping out millions of people.
Yeah.
Right? So in that context, where you have this casualty where, I don't know, 100 die instead of 1 million, everyone goes for it, and they also risk their own lives to do that, right?
No,
so
absolutely.
Every day these superhumans are going out risking their lives because they value lives.
Like Agent Ross had said, like, you guys have paid an unpayable debt.
Yeah.
You know, like, you guys have literally laid your life on the lines and sacrificed your lives for us. So obviously he's very mindful of that. I guess, you know, what Agent Ross had said, at one point he said that, you know, Avengers ignore borders to inflict their own will and don't really care about the damage that they leave behind. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel like in the midst of them saving lives or not, do you feel like they're cognizant of the fact that these are actual humans, or they're just like, we just gotta save as many people as we can?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I feel like obviously they're cognizant of the fact that they're humans because they're going out there and saving lives.
Yeah.
That speaks for itself.
Right.
Like, every day they're risking their life to save lives. So yes, they absolutely value human life. So I don't think we can really question if they value human life.
Of course.
I feel like it's a circumstantial. You're saying, are they aware that other people are also
could be affected or
die? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are negatively affected by them. So, and I think they are. I mean, we don't see that in the movie. We don't see that at all.
No.
And that's the funny thing, that they don't show that side where someone's like, oh, so and so died, so and so was this person.
Yeah.
We never see that until.
Because really with Zemo was really the cat. That was his whole rationale for doing what he did to the Avengers, was the fact that he lost his family in Sokovia, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was his whole rationale. And the reason why I love him was because of what he said at the end. He had basically said, like, I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to kill you guys, and most regimes will fall. Like, regimes that can be toppled by someone else, they usually can rise again. But if I can fracture you guys from within, if I can get you guys to fight each other and to kill each other, that was his whole mindset. And I thought it was beautifully done. I was like, this dude is dope. I know it's kind of bad because he's the villain, and he kind of, you know, killed a lot of people and shit. But in the midst of that, I thought it was just really dope the way he was able to do that, you know. And his motivations were that because, again, you guys,
You lost everything.
I lost everything.
Yeah.
I lost my wife. I lost my kids. I lost my, you know, wife's father. Like, my family is gone because of you guys trying to kick ass and save the world, you know. And I think to some degree, and I get it. And again, they've laid their lives on the line and they've paid an, you know, unpayable debt. But at the same token, there has to be a little bit of a sense of remorse and accountability too. I think I was debating this back and forth if I felt like they need to be held more accountable because they're superheroes, or they shouldn't be held as accountable. Because they're superheroes. Like, should they be given a little bit of a pass, or they should not be given a pass? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I'm posing the question to you, actually.
Well, I
so I have
think
no idea.
that's what would be in this Sokovian Accords, right? It's like, how much responsibility do we assume? Like, what's the price of a life saved versus a life lost? Like, how do they balance that? That's the scale that we're a bit conflicted on. Like, how do you define that?
That's so hard to do. Yeah, that's hard.
I don't think
is this life worth $30,000, like, you know, or something like that, like it's monetary, like, yeah, to your point, like, it's hard to debate that or say this life is worth more than this life, or like one life saves life, like,
we do this all the time though in our society, though, right? You have a celebrity that's worth X million billion dollars, and when something happens to them, everyone starts talking about it. Whereas on the other hand, someone could be living on the streets, they die, nobody blinks, bats an eyelash, right?
Absolutely.
Until and also like going back to the civil rights movement that just transpired.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It was about somebody that was not a celebrity, right? It shouldn't take Kim Kardashian to advocate for someone, for people to start noticing that something's been going on for 400 years.
That's the sad part, that it took Kim Kardashian, and some people actually really somewhat care, which is kind of weird to me.
So my point is that we're already placing value to which lives we
are more important,
and also it's a dollar sign, right? The more money you have, therefore the more wealth you have, therefore the more resources you have to sue someone and ensure that the action was not inconsequential, right? That there was consequences to the action.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't, then it goes under the radar. And I think civil war kind of breeds that in. You have all these people you don't hear about that aren't celebrities and whatever, and someone's finally said enough is enough. I'm going to take a stand. It is my life. These lives matter.
These lives matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing all lives matter, even in Civil War.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's touching on so many debates, right? It's about all lives. It was about lives matter. Like,
lives matter.
You know, the Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Or we can parallel it to Black Lives Matter too in some way, because it is a civil rights movement, right?
Yes.
Against a particular type of people that aren't paying attention to the value of life. So it's like superhumans versus non-superhumans, right? If a big Avenger had died in a massive accident, we would talk about it. We would hear about it in the movie. They would make a movie out of that. But no one makes a movie, again, out of the thousands of people that are shown. So the casualties that we see, that we can only assume that people are dying.
Yeah.
So it goes to show even the way they're telling the story doesn't prioritize.
Yeah, you're right.
Life.
No, I agree, because they really they fixated on the relationship between Iron Man and Cap, right? And they're, you know, and I think even with Iron Man, I think Iron Man was trying to meet somewhere in the middle. I think his motivations were a little bit different, because him and Pepper weren't together, because he was just running around kicking ass. He did the whole Ultron stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he was like, okay, I don't want to lose her, so maybe if I can get the Accord signed and everyone on board, that can kind of help me kind of mend this relationship.
So he had like ulterior motives.
Yeah, I would say that he had a little bit of ulterior motives. It wasn't just about the Accords, I think. But also, too, I felt like with Iron Man 2, I don't feel like he was so much going to be like, okay, we're going to sign these Accords and that's it. I felt like once he was more worried about the PR and the backlash. And I think he was trying to quell that by signing the Accords. And once the Accords were signed, in his mind, he's like, okay, we can amend this. This needs to be amended. In his mind, I think that's what his rationale was. It wasn't like this is a blanket thing, okay, we're doing these Accords, and then if we have to go somewhere, Agent Ross is like, nah, bro, you can't go nowhere. Yeah.
So to challenge what you just said,
right.
I do agree. I see where Iron Man's intentions are. However, when the Accords get passed down, immediately he's complying with it, because there's a big conflict that's happening while the Accords are being discussed. Bucky. Right? This is happening as we speak. He's out there, and they're automatically assuming whatever's in the Accords, as in they're saying, you can't take the situation in your own hands. You have to comply with these people. And Bucky's situation is very, very complicated, isn't it?
Ooh. It is, to some degree, from Captain America's, because that's his friend and whatever, and I get that. To challenge on that, I think, because here's the thing, because Captain America is placing the value on Bucky's life over everyone else's. Meanwhile, Bucky has done some bad stuff.
Yes.
So, and my whole thing is, I guess initially, what was Captain America's end game with Bucky? Like, what was his goal? Just to have them run off in the sunset together? Like, what was he? My thing is this, because were you not going to hold Bucky accountable for all the crap that he did?
Okay, Bucky's an interesting scenario.
Yes, very
because
interesting.
He is hypnotized. He does not think, like, he's trained. He's a trained assassin. He's a trained killer. Okay. So he's very dangerous, we know.
Very dangerous.
But we also know he has no free will. He has very little free will.
Okay.
I'm not sorry. Not that I'm gonna rescind the statement. So it's not that he doesn't have any free will. He has very little free will.
Yes.
So Bucky can't be held accountable for his actions because he's all the time because he's being hypnotized. Right? If someone's controlling your brain and telling you to do something and it's not you, it's a different entity, you can't punish that person. Bucky needs help. Bucky needs serious rehabilitation and help and understanding.
Okay. Now I'm going to challenge you again. So I guess I'll preface the scene. So at the end of the movie, when they go to I guess they're Siberia, right? They're in Siberia with Zemo. Yeah. And Zemo shows the video of Bucky killing Iron Man's parents.
Yes.
Choking out his mother, punching his father in the face twice. Yes, he was hypnotized. This is true. I'm not going to debate that. You're right about that. Here's where I side with Iron Man, because I'm speaking from looking at it from his vantage point.
Okay.
I understand Bucky, whatever the case may be, but he was really close with his mother. He had a very fractured relationship with his father, Iron Man.
Yeah.
But he was really tight with his mother.
Yeah.
And while I understand that he's hypnotized and blah blah blah, if I was Iron Man, I'm murdering Bucky. I will murder Bucky. I don't care that he's hypnotized and he doesn't know what and they're reading a bunch of random words to him, and all of a sudden he's hypnotized. For me, and I'm more mad at Captain America because I shouldn't have had to have gone to Siberia to have found that out. If me and you were homies and we have saved the world twice, and we are tight, even if, let's say, you're worried about, I don't know how he's going to react. If we're friends, I should not have to find out from a stranger in a bunker in Siberia that your best friend murdered my parents.
I agree. I do think that Captain America he should have told Iron Man this way before.
Facts.
He should have been honest with him. That's the trait of an honest relationship, right? You don't hide these things. You can't say I was waiting for the right time because there's no right time.
Exactly.
Any hard conversation
there
needs
wouldn't
to
have
just
been a
happen.
right time. There wouldn't have been a right time.
Never would have been a right time.
No.
Right? There never would have been a right. Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying. So absolutely, I agree with you on the fact that Captain America should have been honest in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Bucky's story is very complex. Because,
it is.
Right.
Very
it's not
complex.
your average.
No. He's not your average villain.
No, he's not.
No.
So, for context, he's basically from the same time as Steve Rogers is,
Correct.
Captain America,
Yep.
which is what time? Like the 1920s, something around that era.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been transformed, whereas Captain America, let's say if he's been preserved and transformed into the good guy,
yes.
Bucky's been preserved and transformed to be the bad guy.
Absolutely.
Like, instead of saving lives, he destroys lives.
Kills. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
But here's another difference. Obviously, by the means by which they're accomplishing this is by hypnotizing him.
Yes.
Right? By killing all his memories, reprogramming him, and they made a point to show that many times.
I know.
Right? To see the excruciating pain that he goes through. And the minute certain memories are triggered, they're like, no, send him back. Let's do it again. Like erase. Because
there would be periods where he might remember. So we gotta wipe his memory again. So
And that happened also in the movie before.
Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Definitely.
Winter Soldier, that happened too. And you're thinking, like, at the end where the building's falling down, it's him and Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Like, he could have killed him, but he stops.
He did.
Right? He stops, and he knows that Steve Rogers keeps stopping, and he's confused. Why is he stopping? We're killing each other.
Why did he stop? By the way, that's a great movie, by the way.
That's
in terms of fighting, like, I will say this. I'm gonna be a little. In terms of the Marvel movies, I would say the best fighting choreography.
Oh, okay.
Out of all the Marvel movies I've watched, that fight and the fighting choreography with like Black Widow and Steve Rogers, the combat, outstanding, amazing. But
very fun,
very fun. But yeah, to your point, no, I agree. I think, Bucky's it's a very complex character,
So I was saying, like, Bucky at the end of Winter Soldier, he doesn't kill him.
He doesn't.
In fact, he saves him.
He could, yes.
He saves him, and
pulled
he
him out the water.
GTFOs after it. So we don't know where he goes, but we know that he doesn't kill this man that was trying to stop him, like, and use force.
And he could have. He could have.
Which kind of gives us an indication that his mind is struggling. He doesn't know where he is, and it's a very sad story because, again, it's about mind control, right? Someone's controlling you. You're basically a pawn. So in Bucky's defense, he's a pawn, and what's happening in now when the Sokovian Accords are coming out, Bucky's out, right?
Yes.
We see him do something, and there's a manhunt for him now.
There is a manhunt,
right?
yes.
Or there's a person hunt for Bucky.
Person hunt, yes.
And everyone wants to find him and kill him.
Yep,
There have been orders to say to kill him because he's very dangerous.
Yes.
And we know that it wasn't Bucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Turns out it wasn't Bucky.
This was Zemo.
It was Zemo.
Orchestrating something. So now what are his intentions in getting Bucky in the spotlight? It's a distraction, is it not?
It was a distraction because they knew that, first and foremost, I think Zemo had the whole thing kind of... Well, it would be hard for him to plan out the end because he wouldn't have anticipated that Iron Man would go to Siberia as well. But I think he kind of had it all kind of in his mind. Okay, I want to get Winter Soldier isolated in a place where I can get him to use those words to hypnotize him. Because I know once I get him there, then he's gonna flip out, and then they're gonna have to, Captain America, and then he's gonna know about those soldiers, those super soldiers, go to Siberia. Obviously, Zemo's like, I don't want these mofos. I'm gonna murder these dudes because I don't want them around, and I want to bring it all together.
I see. So kind of like minimize the conflict.
Yeah, minimize the conflict. So I want them all in this isolated place, so they can basically kill each other, and then Zemo's gonna kill himself. That was his plan. He was gonna murder and kill himself.
Yeah.
And T'Challa saved the day and stopped him from killing himself.
Yes, I think T'Challa was like the only rational person I would say in the movie,
which was surprising. A little. I mean, the way he lost his father was so brutal.
Yeah, it was
It was at the Sokovia Accords. There was a bomb there, and his father died, and he held on to so much anger and resentment towards Bucky, and he wanted to murder Bucky. He was determined to murder Bucky.
Yeah.
Up until when he found out, when he followed Iron Man to Siberia, that it wasn't Bucky. And then he was like, okay, the anger is consuming them. I gotta let it consume me.
Yeah. He was the first rational one to take a stand back and, to say, like, I think vengeance has consumed me long enough. So that's what it says, right?
Yes. And it's consuming them.
So he breaks that cycle.
He does.
Like, Zemo obviously needs help. Everyone here, so Iron Man is fueled by vengeance.
And pain.
Yeah. With vengeance there's pain that's
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
No one just wakes up. I guess you have to be really disturbed.
Yes.
To say I'm gonna kill someone for the sake of killing someone, which exists. We know villains are
like
for
that.
Sure. But
no,
then
to your
there's
point,
other vengeance where there's always a backstory about the villain and something happens. There's so much pain and suffering.
Yes.
So yeah, we had that with Iron Man because he's reacting to that pain when he wants to kill Bucky.
Yes.
And I believe maybe that's what's obviously preventing Steve Rogers or Captain America to not disclose that information. And who knows when he would have disclosed it? Again, I'm not agreeing with it.
I don't think he would have even disclosed that. If I'm going to be all the way honest, I think he would have just kept that to the grave. Well, he probably wouldn't have been able to die, but he probably wasn't going to. I don't think he would have told Iron Man at all if it had come up. If that hadn't come up, I don't think it would have came up. And that to me is a terrible friend for friends.
Yeah, he made a mistake. He definitely.
He did make a mistake. Yes.
I mean, I want to go back to. So, I mean, I do agree with Iron Man. Like, he obviously has good points that people need limitations. People need to be held accountable for their consequences, right? So we know Iron Man has some valid points. We know Vision very eloquently, as he always does, right?
Vision's just there. He's just there. I don't even know what his powers are. He's just like, one minute he's like really strong, then he can like go invisible. Like,
he's super powerful. I think he's severely underrepresented in what he can do.
He was. Period.
Just like Scarlet Witches, actually. They're both like super powerful beings.
Just like Hawkeye. Hawkeye's just there.
Yeah.
I don't know why Hawkeye's in there.
I like Hawkeye.
You like Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Really? You're one of the few. Hawkeye gets dissed a lot.
No, I really
You like Hawkeye?
Because I'm an archer as well. I used to be in the archery team.
Well, fair enough.
Back in the day. Well, I'm not an archer anymore, but I used to. I used to compete competitively. But I want to go back to this whole Bucky issue. So this is where the movie gets interesting because you have these accountability scenarios. You have Zemo being like the big enemy, and then you also have Bucky's situation, right?
Yeah.
There's so Steve Rogers, obviously, I should stop flip-flopping. I should just say Captain America. So Captain America knows something is up, right? Because it seems like he's the only one that knows that Bucky's been brainwashed.
Yeah.
Right? And he's the only one.
He didn't really convey that to anybody. Because everyone just assumed that he was bugging out.
Yeah, and again, it's about this personal relationships. Why it's important to kind of know that people exist and are having. So Captain America. Imagine for a second, right? You're a guy from the 20s. You're frozen. You've been through all of this. Yes. Your sole purpose is to save lives now. You are a trained soldier. Yes. You are a soldier for the people.
Yes.
And you wake up, everyone's gone. Everyone's pretty much gone. Your life is almost like waking up at a different planet.
Right.
Because you're like, my whole life has changed. Your whole universe has changed.
Yeah.
And Winter Soldier did a good point of kind of shedding some light into Steve Rogers' mentality of how alone he feels.
Yeah.
How alone he truly feels because he's asking himself why. Why am I even doing anything?
And I agree. And even then the government, right? Like he was with SHIELD.
Yeah.
And then it turns out SHIELD was the enemy. They were with Hydra.
Yeah.
And he thought, when he was a company man, he followed the rules, he believed in all that stuff. Like in the first Avengers, he was all about following whereas Iron Man's like, screw that, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And then it almost flip-flopped.
Yeah,
Civil War.
exactly.
It literally flip-flopped. Like their roles completely changed.
Yep.
But I think with Iron Man, I think he was maybe looking more at the fact of the actual human cost, right? And he actually, like for example, when Alfred Woodard confronted him about her son, and he actually looked up what her son was about and what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think for him, it humanized it a little bit more, and I think for him, it touched him in a way where he felt, okay, we have to be put in check.
Yeah.
Because Lord forbid, if we can do anything to kind of keep us accountable in some way, I'm game. Yeah. That was his mindset, I think. And again, Captain America made valid points, so I'm glad you didn't make this point because I would have lost this debate if you did. No, so this point that he made was, agendas change with governments, right? Like these accords.
Yeah.
So what's to say if, let's say, they do these accords, and let's say they send them off somewhere where they don't want to go, or they need to go somewhere, and the courts say, nah, you can't go there.
That's the big struggle.
That's the big struggle.
Isn't that what makes a superhero different? Isn't that what these movies are already touching? Because you have all these people can't make it on time.
Absolutely.
There's all this bureaucracy, and what makes a superhero is that they fly away. They don't have anyone tethered to them telling them where they can be, where they can't be. They just go. They're in places where you can't be. And that's what makes them different. Otherwise, they're cops. Otherwise, there's the army.
Yeah.
They're the army, right?
Basically, yeah.
It's their bread and butter. Their independence is their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Is what makes them stand out.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that.
I think so. Imagine again, Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
This man is in a completely different universe, and I'll be basically reiterating the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's fine.
Where you're feeling alone, you're feeling left out, you don't have a sense of purpose. You're struggling with finding a sense of purpose. The only person you know is at her deathbed. She's really old.
Yeah, that was your love, like kind
Peggy.
of like a love interest.
He says that in my love of my life, and that was for him. It was Peggy. And Bucky.
And Bucky.
These are two people in the midst of, and think about it. You're basically bred a soldier, and then you found out everything you've been living for is a lie.
Yeah.
SHIELD and Hydra, complete lies. So it's a shock to your system.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shock to your very existence because he's like, why am I here? I didn't get to live my life. I've only been serving the people. Now the very organization that's been telling me to serve the people that made me the way I am turns out to be a huge fraud.
Right.
So obviously that's going to give him huge trust issues because his whole life is different.
Yeah.
Out of all the Avengers, I think he's the only one who basically lost all his life. Actually, everyone goes through these
losses, but I would say Captain America, because 80 years essentially was in the ice.
You took him out of his element and put him in another planet. So he's a very interesting scenario, and I actually I can retort that. I don't know enough about the other Avengers to say, but from what I know, my limited knowledge, I can say his situation is very different.
Yeah,
now,
it is. Good time to bring up these points.
I'm thinking everyone's arguing based on their own self-interest. That's also an interesting theme in this movie.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Everyone
Everyone
Captain
has a
America
stake, yeah.
has an interest. So fast forward to Civil War, right? We had Age of Ultron, we had Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, and then Civil War.
Correct.
So going back to Civil War, Bucky is really the only lifeline, the only person that makes Captain America feel like a person, because he's the only one from his past.
Right.
In this new universe.
Right.
And there's a scene where Peggy dies, and he has to take a break and go to a funeral. So now it's even emphasized further. Guess what? Out of the two people that Captain America knew, one of them is dead. Oh, sorry, I flipped the bird accidentally.
It's okay.
Thinking, one of them is dead, and the other one is Bucky. So obviously he's gonna fight through hell and back, go through hell and back to make sure that
he preserves that,
to understand why he did what he did. And maybe like at the time he doesn't know what's going on, but he's saying since I have trust issues and I don't know what the heck's going on,
or who to trust, right?
Or who to trust, I want to figure out the situation myself. You know, so he's taking that stand to say, I want to take it in my hands. I want to figure it out, because what I've learned from my past is I can't trust anyone now. I can't trust these big organizations. I can't trust the authority anymore.
Okay.
The very foundation which he was built on. If you can't trust that, then you're going to have to take things into your own hands, no? And Captain America does stand up for individual rights. Like, as much as we like to think that Iron Man's doing that, like, Captain America is all for the freedom of choice and individual rights. Mm-hmm. And he does that because the minute you're part of a group, then its group dynamics are different. Mm. What makes these superheroes different is that they can decide for themselves. Everyone has an individual choice. So if you're like Captain America and I'm, I don't know, Bucky, and we're in an argument, I can choose what I want to do, you choose what you want to do. Nothing like is saying you're part of the police force, you have to act accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very distinguishing. The fact that he wants to act on individual responsibility is a good thing, because it means you are responsible for your rights, for your consequences and yourself. And another theme that
so to your point, responsible, so who's going to hold them responsible? Is he going to individually hold himself responsible, and how is he going to do that? Because he can't get drunk. He can't go drink and get drunk because his metabolism's so good from that serum that he can't get drunk.
So what do you mean? Like, are you saying how do you punish him for his crimes?
Or actions, or negative actions?
For his negative actions? Again, that's something that all superheroes in this universe needs to have a chat about. Like, if some things happen, you need to make public apologies. You need to make, I don't know, like a community service thing. I don't know. I'm just like making
service.
Up things. Like,
go to like YMCA.
Build an organization. I don't know. Do something.
I don't got money. You could build something.
You know, don't just go around like pawns with their heads chopped off, like random pawns. Like, just take certain responsibility, and instead of all this destruction, add to the community, build it. And there's a scene with him and Wanda, where they're talking about the responsibility, and Wanda's like, this is my fault, he's like, this is our fault,
Yes.
He's acknowledging, so he is capable of admitting that he's responsible. At the same time, he's saying, is a punitive action against me worth taking away the only person I know in the universe, even though I have a haunting suspicion it's not him. Right? So that
and he's flawed, but and maybe in Captain America's mind he feels he can help them. But in what way is he going to help them? Like, my thing is, I felt like he was trying to hold on to your point, which I agree. I think he was holding on to that so much. Yeah. Which is, I understand why, because he had lost pretty much everything else. Yeah.
But then, holding on to what, Bucky?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that was the one memory or good memory that he had, because him and Bucky were like this. They were tight. Yeah. But then it's like because even Bucky even said when they were going to Siberia, because Captain America said, well, granted, even though you did those crimes, that wasn't you doing it. Mm-hmm. And Bucky even said, I know, but I did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even Bucky even felt a need or a sense that he needed to even be held accountable in some form or fashion for his actions. He didn't feel like he deserved a pass.
So, I agree. That's a very good point.
I would drop the mic with
Mic drop. That's a very good point.
See, I just remember that. That's how many times I've watched this game. I've watched the movie like 20 times at least. So there you go.
To that point, I will add that. So, okay, where do we go from here? Someone's admitted. Someone that has been brainwashed has pretty much come out and said, which shows how mature they are. They're saying, I still did it. I'm the person. Like, you can't. The world is so complicated, so I don't deserve a special medal just because I've been brainwashed.
And you're my homie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're homies, so we gotta let it go.
So the question is now, are you going to have a punitive or collaborative approach to rehabilitation? Are you going to rehabilitate, or are you going to punish? Right? What does the law generally do with people that break? They punish. Like,
you're right.
What about prison systems? It's
you're
punished, right? So.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think because initially, I believe when they had arrested Bucky, I believe they were Iron Man was trying to advocate for him to go to to get rehabilitated. That was kind of his plan. But then once he found out that he killed his mom, that all died.
And again, you're reacting from emotions.
Emotion,
right?
Obviously, right?
It's just
because that's a hard thing. I couldn't imagine, especially because I guess he had died. I guess when this movie came, I guess the timeline of the movie was in 2015, and his mother and dad were killed in 91. So for 14 years, he's living with this under the dark of not knowing how his mother died and how his father died, and then to see it on friggin' VHS. Listen, man. Yeah. I get like I said, your points are valid in terms of with Bucky and stuff like that, and he was brainwashed. He didn't really know what he was doing. But I cannot say that if that happened to me, I would not want to murder that motherfucker. I would be murdering his corpse, and I'd kill Captain America too. At that point, I am so blinded by rage, anger, and vengeance, and I'm extremely just pissed at Captain America. Because even my point, and I'll actually kind of just side note a little bit. Because for example, I remember 3 years ago, me and my friend Luke, shout out to Luke, he's a good homie. Me and him were playing Xbox. We were playing for my birthday. We were playing online for 4 hours. Yeah. And he was all for half that time he was talking about his girlfriend. That his girlfriend started seeing because he was madly into her, vibing with her. Everything was great. Okay. 2 weeks later, I was on Bumble, the dating app, and her picture came up. Now, I did not initially, it didn't click in my head that it was her. Yeah. So I was looking at her picture, I'm like, why is this girl familiar? Yeah. Couldn't put my finger on it. So then I finally said, no, this can't be Luke's girl. So then I go on his profile and his sure as shit, it's him and her.
Oh no.
So then I'm sitting literally on my bed for an hour. Don't know what to do. Do I tell him? Do I not tell him? I am torn because I don't want him to think oh, what are you trying to do? You trying to mess with my girl or something? I don't know how he was going to react.
Yeah. You're is it going to cause a lot of hurt? Is it between them?
Exactly. I don't know. I didn't know. Should I say something? Should I not? I finally said, no, I'm going to tell him because that's my friend. Yep. And I would feel terrible if I didn't tell him. So I said, yo, Luke, just letting you know, homie, I saw your girl on Bumble and saw her on a dating app. I didn't swipe on her. I swiped left. Just want to let you know. So there's no, you know what I mean? Because I feel and they broke up shortly after, but I would have felt terrible, let's say, if I keeping it in and not telling him, knowing that she's out there say holding his hand. I'm she was on a dating app 2 weeks ago. Man, that's terrible. So
that's terrible.
Yeah.
So you're a good friend.
Yeah, I just felt like Captain America was kind of a shitty friend to Iron Man a little bit. They saved the world twice. They saved the world.
But they don't communicate with each other. They have extremely bad communication. How did Winter Soldier end? Or how did Civil not Winter Soldier, how did Civil War end? And do you remember how Infinity War begins? It's that gap.
Yes.
It's no one's keeping in touch with each other. What happens? There was this beautiful note that Captain America left for Iron Man at the end of, when Civil War. It's about communication. It's about, if you need me, I'll be here. But everyone just gets busy. And you can't blame people's poor communication and their inability to keep a relationship. If you're not even communicating, you're not finding anything out.
Okay, I will retort to that. So under the circumstances, there's a rational reason in my mind why Iron Man was not communicating really with Captain America. Because he was you basically chose, it was your friend, but you basically chose him over the Avengers who have fought and bled next to for X amount of time. You chose this dude over your new homies.
It's about individual rights. Captain America stands for individual rights and freedoms, and you know what? You can't blanket everything under the umbrella of Avengers. Everyone still needs to be responsible. If Bucky's being framed, if Bucky has great potential to help with his abilities, so you can't just say him or me, because it's individuality.
No,
it's not about
I disagree with that. It is, listen, at that point we're homies, bro. We have saved the world together multiple times, and even if listen, we're gonna go fast track now to Iron Man was right. If we're gonna be all the way 100, if we're gonna be all the way honest, Iron Man kind of was. He was playing chess while Captain America and them were playing checkers. Another mic drop. Because he envisioned in Age of Ultron the Avengers dying, and he was more upset at the fact that he lived. So his mindset was, I'm gonna try to put as maybe as wrong and as abrasive as this came across, he was trying to put a shield or a suit over the world to protect it from this invasion that came and eliminated half the damn population. You know, and again, I get, like I said, your points are valid. I understand the individuality piece, but I'm speaking as a, you know, from a friend standpoint. Man, we're supposed to be homies. You can't be choosing this metal arm dude just because you've known him for whatever over me and you have been saving the world together.
The metal arm dude is a good guy who's being brainwashed. We need to help the metal arm dude. If we don't help him, he's gonna do so much more damage, and it would be a shame to lose him, because he could actually.
Well, he
be
killed my mom,
Avenger.
so at that point, I don't care if he loses.
So it's about being fueled by vengeance.
Facts.
But T'Challa is the only person in that movie that breaks the cycle because he's clean of that. So he comes out the winner at the end because he witnesses his father die. Yeah. He knows who did it. And he's with the killer right there, and he like unclaws himself.
See, the black man has to come in and make everything right. No, I'm kidding. But no, I understand your points. I just feel like, man, we're supposed to be, if we're tight, man, we're supposed to be homies. I should, you know, I understand that Bucky's your boy, and yes, he's being framed, and Iron Man realized this too.
Yeah.
But to your point, Iron Man was fueled by vengeance and rage, and as a man, I understand that, because I would probably, if someone murdered my mom in the way that Bucky murdered, regardless of whether he was hypnotized or not.
Yeah.
Bucky, if I could kill Bucky, Bucky's dying.
Well, then kudos to Zemo for setting up this thing, because he knows he's exploiting everyone's weaknesses.
That's why Zemo is the best villain, because he knew how to. He studied them for a year. He studied them for years, actually. He said that he noticed with Captain America, your eyes, there's a little bit of blue in your green eyes, which is kind of crazy that he studied them that long and he saw a flaw. He said, "I finally saw a flaw."
Iron Man. Yeah, kudos to Zemo, actually. So yeah,
Zemo. Shout out to Zemo, man.
Good villain. So okay, going back to Iron Man.
Yeah.
He reacts emotionally a lot of times. Like, he actually goes and manipulates Peter Parker, young Peter Parker, to join the Avengers, to risk his life. This little kid.
He's in high school, basically.
Oh yeah, I've given you this cool suit. Come join my team and fight.
But it is a cool suit, though.
Yeah, he does have a very cool suit.
But you're right. Yeah, he does kind of manipulate a little bit.
And like, obviously, he hasn't thought about it until somebody confronts him. Who, the woman, right?
Scarlet Witch.
No,
sorry, Black Widow.
No, a civilian.
Oh yeah, Alfred Woodard. Yeah, Alfred. Yes, Alfred.
Yeah.
Woodard, yes.
She confronts him, and basically only then he starts to think about it. So now he's thinking, he's emotional. Another emotional example was obviously Spider-Man. Like, you're using it to his advantage. And then another one is a trigger when he finds out, not looking at the big picture, just exactly falling into the trap that Zemo set out for them. So yeah, I think that's a big flaw for Iron Man.
He is emotional, yes. I will give you that. He, like, for example, in the first Iron Man movie, he acted on emotion and destroyed all those damn suits. Yeah. And destroyed all the weapons and stuff.
He's a spoiled brat. He's this millionaire, billionaire, spoiled guy. But I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he has a certain personality and expectation. And then you look at Steve Rogers. He's this humble guy who would have done anything to save people, to care about others. Seems to care about others more. He sacrifices himself. Look at just their past alone, how they grew up in this movie universe, right?
Talk about the past,
what his advantages and disadvantages, right? So you're the selfless guy has nobody in the world, is actually all for individual rights, is fighting tooth and nail to save his best friend, who he knows is being controlled. And by the way, that was a setup by Zemo. And by the way, if the Sokovian Accords would have gone through,
right?
Guess what that also does?
What does that also do?
It opens a possibility to the very idea that the very thing that Zemo did, which is set them up.
Right.
Set them up, get them in one area, get them who's the very thing that happened with Bucky.
Right. Well, I will retort one point you made.
Yeah.
So, I challenge the notion that Iron Man is kind of not selfless in terms of helping, because if I'm not mistaken, my memory, I'm a little older, so my memory might be a bit foggy, but in the first Avengers, if I'm not mistaken, he made the ultimate sacrifice, because I remember there was a part where Captain America said, "You will not lay down your life and make the ultimate play and sacrifice yourself for the greater good." And Iron Man did twice. lost his damn life. And, Endgame, which is kind of shitty.
Yeah, actually, there's twice. Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Iron Man did this, so this notion.
That's him maturing. I'm saying from his past. I agree with you.
Okay,
I
it's past,
agree
sure.
with you. I was actually talking about just him growing up.
Prior to him becoming Iron Man, you could. Yeah. That's a fair argument.
And also, it's like, okay, so it's prior Iron Man and like during Iron Man. It's like even during, it's his journey. Like he's a bit arrogant. He's brash. He has all of this. His arc in the movies is like he becomes more humble. He becomes more down to earth, and he becomes very selfless at the end.
Very
right.
Ultimate.
Yeah, he did it twice, and that's part of his arc, right?
Yeah.
His arc is like he's, this rich playboy guy like who grew up, finally learns humility, finally like through all his hurdles. So I completely agree with you. He is a selfless person.
Absolutely.
But that happens at the kind of like at the end of his arc.
Yeah.
Right? Like in terms of him being a superhero.
Oh yeah.
If we're to,
Sure, that's fair. I won't debate that. Yeah, you're right about that.
Going back to so if you had the Sokovian Accords and you had everybody comply, everyone knows everything. You're opening up more setups.
Yeah.
Right? You're opening up the possibility of people being set up because everyone knows exactly where you are. And if the very thing that happened to Bucky once again, right? Because he's it's like a plot within a plot.
Right. That's fair. That is fair. That's a fair point.
So I'm not disagreeing with them. I think ideally in the movie it would have been a courtroom drama where you have
it would have been a courtroom
Article 6.1. It would
have been like Judge Judy up in there.
This is what we disagree with. And I again commend Iron Man to actually say we need to discuss this, right? And Steve at the moment is driven by the time limit that he has because he knows they're going to kill Bucky, right? Yeah. So he's like, I don't have time for this right now because I don't want to. He's going to die by the time.
But I also felt too, to some degree, that Captain America was a little bit fake. For example, when they did arrest Bucky, and Iron Man and Captain America were talking about maybe when Iron Man brought the 2 pens, and he was talking about the background behind those pens, and Captain America was like, well, it's not saying I'm not saying it's not impossible. So he was even about to consider signing the damn Accords himself.
Yes, he was.
But then he found a way out because Wanda was in prison. Even though she's in a damn mansion, she's fine. She's living her best life. She's not in house arrest. She's just in a mansion. Eating pepper cash, whatever the heck that is. I need to look that up.
Okay, yeah, I know there was that moment where they're going to come around because there was the idea of negotiation.
I feel like that was fake. I felt Captain America was being fake there. I don't think he was being serious. Because as soon as he says Wanda's trapped in the house, I'm not going to sign it now? Really? That doesn't make sense.
I think it's about control. So the minute he realizes that although Iron Man is saying, hey, we should comply by this, he's already controlling everybody. And that's exactly against the very core values of Captain America. Because it's like, I have my individual rights and responsibilities. I am going to willingly sign up for this. You have to willingly tell Wanda. You can't lie to her and say and hold her back like that.
But I feel like Iron Man actually deferred leadership to Captain America of the Avengers. He deferred that. He allowed him to kind of control and tell other people kind of how to do stuff. And when they're in fights, usually it's Captain America telling people what to do and giving strategies and all that. Yeah. Iron Man's deferred. So,
okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not like it's
mini mic drop. But no, I agree. I think with them, they both I think Captain America was definitely the leader of the Avengers, although then at the end he said, well, no, the Avengers is more yours than mine. I'm like, really? Come on now, bro. You're just, I just, Captain America bothered me a little bit, man. I understand your points. Your points are very well taken. I do agree.
And I agree with a lot of yours, too.
I do.
It's about,
It's very tough. That's why I love this friggin' movie. It's such an amazing movie. These dynamics.
Iron Man's head is in the right place, absolutely.
And Captain America's is too. Individualism is important.
Yeah.
And again, he's trying to save his friend because that's the one thing that he wants to hold on to in terms of, his past life. And again, to your point, his friend, he knows his friend's being framed. If his friend was just running around killing people and didn't care, then I think Captain America would just kill him or whatever. But he knows that it's not, he's doing it against his will. And I understand Captain America's rationale to try to save his friend. I get that.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Yeah, and we all understand, Iron Man's rationale that, we need to take responsibility for all your actions and maybe they are dangerous and maybe they should be controlled to some extent. It's just a debate as to what extent, right? And this is where that would have been the better approach.
To what extent? Yeah, that's what it boils down to what extent. Like, what are we?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, to what extent? Like, what are we going to concede on? What are we not conceding on? What are we, what are our deal breakers from what are not our deal breakers? Always going back to deal breakers somehow in these damn podcasts.
Deal breakers.
Deal breakers. Doesn't matter.
But that wouldn't have been a very fun movie then, would it?
No, it would have been a terrible movie. It would have been a horrible movie.
And I'm gonna bring it back, like,
yeah.
to wrap it up. Yeah. Also, would be the great Uncle Ben's quote, right?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. So
it's a beautiful.
I think it's it's that.
It's a little bit overdone. You know. I think it's a little bit overdone. That quote.
It is. Of course.
Thank God they didn't have it in the new Spider-Man movies.
I haven't seen them. I know it's terrible. I'm the only behind on Spider-Man. I've seen everything else.
Well, they are on Netflix. Homecoming is on Netflix.
I really like Spider-Verse into this.
I love that movie. I just watched it 2 weeks ago.
You finally watched it. Finally.
I did. It's a great movie. Actually, you know what?
Yes.
It's a really dope movie.
It's a really good movie.
I was surprised. I thought it was going to be kind of cheesy. It's good for kids. So I was like, oh, okay. But my sister, all my friends said, yo, Mike, you got to watch it.
I was so surprised. I think I almost punched you in the arm. Like, what is wrong with you?
I was determined not to watch it for a bit. I was like, I'm not going to watch it. Everyone's telling me to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. Yeah. But actually, you know what? It was really, I watched it a couple weeks ago. Very good.
Fantastic movie. So if you haven't watched that, I used to have these expectations too sometimes about animated movies and saying, oh, they're for kids.
Yeah.
But it took a lot to get over that. And I had no expectations as well going into it because I thought the same thing.
Right.
But I remember coming out of the theater going, that was amazing.
But Spider-Man actually is my favorite superhero. Spider-Man is my guy. I love the cartoons. I love his arc. He's like this nerdy, insecure guy, but he's got like some swag. He's like got these superpowers. He's like athletic, and I always love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the dude. So when they brought him back to the Marvel, I was so happy because honestly, the ones with Andrew Garfield, never watched those ones, and I heard they're garbage. So I definitely watched.
I mean, there was the one with Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield.
The Tobey Maguire ones were good.
They were good, but they didn't end well.
No, they were trash. And that's why I like Tom Holland, because he's young. He can grow in the character. I thought they did a great job casting. I think what I also love with Civil War is the way I think everybody got balance and equal screen time. I don't think there was one. You can't say that it was like an Iron Man movie or even though it was Captain America. It
didn't feel like a Captain America.
It felt like just a really collaborative movie, and I think the directors they did a really good job in terms of that, and because they kind of co-wrote it as well. Mm-hmm. So I think they did a really good job in terms of the pacing of the movie. Yeah. Was really good. I thought there was a good mix of action, with the plot, and you see the developing story. I thought they did amazing compared to Batman vs Superman. Yeah. Do we dare talk about Batman vs Superman?
That's not touched. That's Pandora's box.
I know, because you might piss off a lot of DC fans.
That's Pandora's box.
I mean, I don't mind discussing it to say how terrible that movie is. But
I wanted to quickly, before I forget, just say something about Black Widow.
Yes.
I think she is also one of the rational ones in the movie.
Yeah, she's like in the middle.
Because she's in the middle. She's like trying to understand both sides, saying, I agree with this, but let's do this, but I don't agree with this. So at first, I remember when I watched the movie, I'm like, what's her problem? Why can't she make up her mind? And I was all like, she's a flake. And then I watched it again, and I had to think about it and think, you know what? She's exactly like in the middle. She's like the mediator, the judge, the one that's saying, let's give both sides a chance. Like, I'm not going to... Life isn't absolutes. It's not absolutes. There's a lot of gray area, and I'm figuring that gray area.
Because this was her family, right? She doesn't want to see this family break up either. So she understands Iron Man's side, and she was kind of riding with Iron Man for the most part up until she was like, dude, we played this wrong. Yeah. Like, Bucky was innocent. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we need to figure out a way where we can kind of get Cap and Bucky here, and then we can kind of mediate this and work this out. Yep. Where Iron Man was like, and then he kind of came around, right? So, but I think Black Widow's role was important because I think she was kind of the bridge between the two almost, or she at least tried to be. Wasn't as successful, but she definitely tried to be the bridge. And I think,
I deserve to mention that.
And you're right, because I think without her, I think they would have probably been more apart. I don't think they would probably hated each other's guts even more. Yeah. So, but there was always, I think with Iron Man and Captain America, there was always this underlying beef with them anyway. Yeah. They had always been kind of...
makes a good movie.
Which always makes a great movie, which I love. So, no, it was really, it was just, I think there's so much dynamics in the movie. I think if you guys have not seen it, please go watch this damn movie. It is an amazing movie.
It's a really good movie.
It's on Netflix, so you have no excuse. It's on Netflix. I know it's on Disney Plus, so I was watching on Disney Plus.
You have Disney Plus?
That's why I've been going through all these damn movies.
That explains it. Okay.
I am rewatching all the Marvel movies from Iron Man to Endgame.
I finished, actually, I started with Winter Soldier, and then I went and then finished Infinity War.
Well, I will say this: the Marvel movies are really good, except for Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is a trash movie.
I wasn't crazy about
it's
that
trash.
movie.
So annoying. They basically took the Mandarin, who's basically like Batman to Joker. Like that's kind of like what the Mandarin, that villain was.
Yeah.
And they basically took a diarrhea dump all over this character. That's basically I can't. And they just ruined it. I'm just like, why would you ruin this character? I was so upset. But other movies I've pretty much. I mean, the first Hulk movie with Edward Norton, I do like it. It doesn't fit with the universe though.
Yeah, we need to, I guess, do more on the separate movies. I'm trying to hold back because.
Oh yeah, time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta cut it off because at some point, otherwise we're talking 10 hours here.
Yeah, we can talk for 10 hours.
But no, we'll pick another movie. I think we should talk about the DC universe though.
Okay.
We're gonna do one. We're gonna surprise y'all. We're doing a topic on one of the DC movies. We're not gonna say which one it is. We're on pins and needles. But I think we should talk about Batman v Superman. And say, well, everything was wrong with that movie. Even though it came out a long time ago, I feel like bashing that movie. I think
I'm gonna rewatch it, take notes, and I think we should. Yeah.
Congratulations!
Absolutely.
I watched it twice. I am never watching that movie again.
I've only watched it once.
So I remember enough, and I'm just gonna go off of Cliff Notes. And I'm gonna follow your lead because I'm not watching that movie again.
I'll watch it and take notes, and we'll talk about it.
God bless.
Yeah. So I guess I can wrap up here.
Yeah.
This one, or.
Well, I'll wrap it up here. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm gonna leave links for Sana's website as well as her podcast, so check them out. And stay tuned for some more content. Me and Sana hopefully do some more content in the future, and I'll definitely be posting it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think was right? Do you think I was right? Do you think Sana's right? Do you think it's in the middle? You don't care. You've never seen the movie, so you don't have no idea what we're talking about. So in that case, you need to watch the thing.
Yeah.
So that would help. You need to watch the movies. Okay. So take care. Peace. I'm out.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.